My name is Neil Thrussell,
And my name is Jamie Adamchuk.
and we would like to welcome our friend Dr. Lin Morel, who's a spiritual advisor, a mentor. The scary part is a fifth degree black belt and a master in the martial arts. So welcome, Lin.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So off camera, we were talking about you being this chubby little girl, and how did you go from this chubby little girl to this fifth degree black belt? Like, I'm just trying to figure out how all of this works.
And a minister to have.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
Well, to tell you the honest truth, I was 15, chubby, a bookworm. My favorite place was on top of the local tree or the roof with a ladder pulled up so that I could have my quiet time. I learned early how to go inward, but I was very uncoordinated. My younger sister decided that she wanted to take judo lessons with my sister-in-law, who then bowed out, or what would she be, my brother's wife, and I was the designated chaperone. So this was in 1965, where girls didn't do things like that. She quit after 3 months, and it's over 53 years, and I still practice the martial arts. My business is informed by all of the principles that I learned in overcoming my shyness, my insecurity, my unworthiness, my, oh my God, I have 2 left feet, what do I do now? And extreme dyslexia.
Oh my.
Wow.
So it's pretty funny. The way I learned to use my right hand was I'd remember what hand I wrote with intellectually and then put that same foot back if I was doing a reverse punch or something. So it's pretty fascinating how sometimes life presents us opportunities that don't come wrapped in a pretty package.
True, very true. So our 4Ds are desire, determination, dedication, and discipline. So for you to get a black belt, I'm thinking that's all of them wrapped up. But did you have to rely on more than the other, or were you truly all in for all of the 4Ds?
I think for me it was all 4Ds, but I didn't have enough discernment to say what it was. I knew that when I went to the class, I was for the first time in my life experienced that I could do something. And so to my amazement, after 3 months, my sister quit and my parents said, oh, well, you don't have to go anymore. And I was devastated. So I started washing floors, ironing clothes, and begging, borrowing, and stealing rides as a 16-year-old to get to class. And when my teacher saw my determination, I started teaching beginners as a 16-year-old with only 3 months of training under my belt. And so that ability to do something over and over and witness myself improving gave me some desire to do more, to do better. The determination came in was I had to determine if I would let my parents take away something I loved, or would I do what it took to continue going to class. And so that's the determination. The discipline, in my own way, I've always been disciplined, and in my own way, I've only been disciplined for things I want to do.
Oh.
A bit of a maverick.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was also driven by the God of others' approval at a young age.
That one is a powerful deity.
I know. My judo teacher became like a surrogate dad. And when my mom, had some illnesses, and I would visit her, and it would be devastating. And then I would go visit him with his 6 dogs who would lick my face, standard bred poodles and dobies. And so he became a cornerstone for me to encourage me, to help me be determined to continue no matter what.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's really, I would call it divine intervention. Since I'm a minister, I can use those words.
Yes. And where do you think you got this desire? Like, at 16 years old, some 16-year-olds only care about, their little phone. So back then it was a different time. But what do you think gave you the fortitude to want to stick with it?
I have to say it would be the loving of my teacher, of the classmates who accepted me, this chubby little kid. It was feeling like I was no longer an odd duck. In the martial arts, I found my tribe. That's the best way I could describe it. And so the encouragement I got, them noticing me, I was very invisible as a child. I did that as a self-protective strategy. And to this day, I can walk in a full room and say, the instructor won't see me tonight, and I'm 3 feet away from him, and he takes roll call and he goes, oh, I guess Lin's not here tonight. And I waved my hand and said, I am. It was a martial arts ninja trick born out of necessity, you know?
Yes.
And in the martial arts, I was actually seen, encouraged to be seen. The guys, it's really interesting. Women didn't do martial arts. I think there was 1 or 2 women black belts. Rusty Kanakoji's my role model, badass from New York, who was called the grandmother of the
Yes.
Olympics. She was my role model because she didn't take no for an answer. You know, and I taught at the YMCA, and I was thrown out because I was female. Now, and that was an invited guest instructor. So what they did the next week was they invited me to come in the back door and brought me downstairs to the basement where I taught class. So I've always been a rebel in my desire to progress and succeed in this wonderful thing that gave me a new viewpoint.
So you're a minister, you've got a doctorate in spiritual science, but one of the things, so you're a multiple gold winner in judo, I mean in karate, and that's a combative art. How did you choose to go for the 5 gold, your medals? What drove you forward for that?
It's a really great question, and I think there's a koan in there somewhere. Because the more I mastered the martial arts, which meant I mastered my own inner stuff, the less I had any need to be influenced by the outside world. So I became what Dan Millman called the peaceful warrior.
Yes.
And if I could share one of I actually, on the inner, you guys would understand this because my teachers are gone. Last year I was awarded an inner 6th degree black belt. And it came after I had 3 incidences with guns. And so the first one I disarmed because I knew he was dangerous. That was in France. The second, this is over a couple-year period. The second one was when I was held up at gunpoint. The day I finished my dissertation, I threw my Trader Joe's bananas after the people ran away. And then I stopped and I said, violence doesn't work with violence. And I shouted, God bless you both. And ironically, 4 hours later, there were 2 loaded guns, 4 perpetrators. They confessed completely because they couldn't get God bless you out of their head.
Yes.
So to me, that's the ultimate martial arts where I use my voice and my intention. And then the third one happened just a year ago. And I was on the way to a gala. I've been board chair with a nonprofit for 18 years. And I started to leave the mall to go get my nails done. And I said, okay, what's up now, God? I just talked to this inner strong self, my beloved, whatever name you want to use, the wise one. And I heard, no. And then I did some stuff and I came back and I went to walk into the mall and I witnessed 2 people strangling and beating up somebody that they had pinned to a wall and were choking. And I thought, oh God, just have my nails done. Do I really want to do something? And then it's like, oh, and then I said, stop it. And they went like this. And then they started boxing with 2 against 1. And I said, what would your mother say? And the dudes ran away. And later in inner meditation, that's when they told me that I had achieved this next level of using peacefulness rather than violence. And I think that's what discipline, desire, determination, and also devotion, because I'm devoted to peace. I'm devoted to honoring the beauty in every person, even if their actions aren't very beautiful.
And that in itself is an entire, can use all the D's. When you're devoted to a person, to see them for the love and the light that they are, in spite of how they're presenting in the negative way right here and right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's trippy. It's trippy. I mean, if my younger me had seen this, I would say, oh, you're so crazy. And part of following these 4Ds is having to risk being different and to line up your head and your heart and your spirit. You know, that's what allows the business owner, the entrepreneur, to persevere when it looks like business or life or relationships going to hell in a handbasket.
Mm-hmm.
There's always an option. You know, unless, of course, the Golden State Bridge is down and you don't have a boat and there's no way to cross the river. Then you're stopped. For everything else, I've looked at every resistance, every challenge as a stepping stone to my next level of awareness. So I think what the 4Ds have done for me is they've helped me to see that there's multiple options and the only problem is me. Because I put my little blinders on, I say, oh my God, I have to do it this way or it won't work. And I think that's the mastery that comes from embodying the 4Ds. No matter, you could be a master gardener, a piano player. It doesn't matter what you master. It's the kung fu. It's the mastery of our life, which is the foundation for the 4Ds, for me anyway.
It is for me too. It is the foundation for me, however success has shown up in my life, it is because one or all of the 4Ds.
And when they're missing, you're like a stool with 3 legs.
Yes. So, to some people that may not know who you are, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a brag for you. So you were in Manny Goldman's book, The Power of Personal Growth, and the cool part is that you were recognized along with Jack Canfield and Alison Armstrong. I love Alison Armstrong.
Me too.
Most people know who Jack Canfield is. I don't know if everyone knows who Alison Armstrong is, but if you don't, Google her, look it up. Her PAX programs are incredible. And Les Brown. So you've got to many people, you're highly successful. But now I'm going to reverse it and say, my name is Neil, and I'm just starting out in life, and I want to be successful. I have a dream. What could you say to share with me, to empower me, help me become more successful?
I would say that success is a seed that lies dormant in everybody. And when we nurture it, we water it, we fertilize it. Sometimes the fertilizer is life's experiences.
Yes.
Incredible environment where when we honor that seed. So if someone was coming to me, they would probably tell me everything that went wrong with their life. And what I would look at is how, if you just put on a different pair of glasses, that your very brilliance and success comes as a result of the being underground, waiting for the appropriate nurturing to come, for the right sun, the right elements for you to burst forth. And sometimes the struggle is in growing deep roots. So I see every human being as brilliance in a seed ready to be nurtured. And how I would nurture them is I would say, so what is your greatest win? Or what is it that you're holding against yourself? Because I am intuitive and I read energy really well. I don't need to see people. I just need their name. That's a martial arts gift that I had intended to have, coupled with growing up in a family that had its share of challenges. So I was a martial artist, I say, at first by necessity and now by choice.
Ah, sweet. I can see Jamie's he's wants to raise his hand and say something.
Absolutely. One of the themes that keeps coming up here that I'm so excited to hear more about is listening to that inner voice. Mm-hmm. How did you know when to do that? Like, how did you learn to do that?
I would say it's been a lifelong commitment to having a connection to something that was there. I could feel it, but I couldn't always access it.
Okay.
And so my commitment through the martial arts, having that particular discipline, allowed me to hone my ability first with an opponent. But the thing to know is I was in the garden, I was the third ranked fighter in the United States, I was the first invited goodwill tour to China. But the only thing that had that happen was the commitment to take every bump and turn it into a win. So I started not knowing, but having this sense. I also had some experience as a child where I was connected directly, I would say, to spirit, for lack of a better word. And in those very challenging times, I had this experience of something with me that wasn't physical. We all have it. We have dreams. We have close encounters like, wow, I just missed that accident. Something must have saved me.
Yes.
The vast majority of people believe in angels.
Yep.
I don't believe in them. I know there's a difference.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so my willingness to peel away the layers of this onion of all of my belief system, all of the ways that my mind loves to go to the negative, and bringing it back to which would I rather have? Feel miserable or feel happy?
Mm-hmm.
And if I lost in the ring, I wasn't happy, so I got busy. But always, for whatever reason, my choice has been to look for the inner, because the world has never been there for me. It's fickle, and so through some of my experiences, I've learned to trust the wisdom from within more than I trust the wisdom from the world. Because as a scientist, because it's spiritual science, long before I did that, I kept a journal. I still keep journals to this day. I would I'd listen to my intuition. Can I make it to that gas station on Route 80 when there's nothing for the next 30 or 40 miles? And I'd hear yes. And so I did it, and I coasted to the pump on empty, and I made it. So it's not how much gap there is to make it ahead of time, but I learned to trust it as a scientist. And to this day, I write my goals and I write the outcome so that I have 50 years of data of looking at what works and what doesn't. I think for most of us, Jamie, it's the 2x4s upside the head, the sickness, the health, the daughter, the husband. Those trials are nothing more than opportunities to grow, to let go of what no longer fits. And I hope that answers your question.
You know what? That's really beautiful, because my next question that I was going to ask is, through life, we all experience failures. For yourself, and I think you may have just answered that question there, what is the greatest gift that you find out of any failures that you've had?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many. I feel like Babe Ruth. I've had failures that were not intentional. I make mistakes. Oh my gosh, and I'm a recovering perfectionist. So
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. The biggest, in terms of failures, I really can't call them failures now. I married the first man I ever dated. I spent 17 years with him. The marriage didn't last because of personality changes. I judged myself for not being a better wife. I could have changed it. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I gave it 100%. So I think the way failures don't sting as much is if you give it 100%.
Yes.
Then it's more like the success is I learned.
Yes.
I celebrate you on that so much. Thank you for that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So here's a good question, or I think it's a phenomenal question.
What's coming through, of course.
What keeps you moving forward after you've had a loss in the ring, or a marriage gone sour, a deal going? What drives you, keeps you moving forward? Because the glass is half full, half empty. Because some people don't learn from mistakes. But what keeps you moving forward after a negative experience?
Well, I can share one. I was on track to go to the Olympics. About the time they were just going to put karate in. I was top AAU. I would have been on the national team, and I blew out all the ligaments in my knee, teaching a police officer how to do a takedown on a wrestling mat where my foot got stuck. So that was a massive failure, to put it mildly. And I picked myself up and I started practicing Tai Chi because I could rehab my knee. Now, one of the teachings of Tai Chi and of life is either you're expanding or contracting.
Yes.
So if I have a failure, yeah, I may cry a little bit. My house burned down, my retreat center burned down. I had a good cry, but it was a cry in the arms of the man that accidentally set my house on fire, which illumined him. It helped him shift his whole life. So I've had decades of saying anything that happens can be turned to expansion. So with my knee, I started all over. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to walk upstairs. I just kept going. I heard about the first Goodwill Tai Chi tour to mainland China. I went home and told my husband at the time, I have to go. He said, don't be ridiculous, you're not going. And don't tell me I'm not going. This was a yes. The next day I got my passport. I did everything I could do. And in China, I met another master, Shotokan, who encouraged me to go up and down stairs to train, not letting the doctor's diagnosis or the surgery limit me.
Yes.
So I had to evolve in a way that I didn't take what people said I could or couldn't do. And instead, when we demonstrated in Hong Kong and traveled all through mainland China, and when I got to Taipei, I met this Tai Chi master who basically said, come to me, I make you an offer you can't refuse. And I went back and became a house student. And there I strengthened my knee. And I could have either contracted because it was really hard. My Chinese is horrible. And it was
Your Chinese is far better than mine or Jamie's.
Absolutely.
And but the beauty was that I chose to expand in the face of my contraction. And I think we're either moving. The biggest indicator of healthy age we used to think was food, but it's actually movement.
Yes.
It's movement. We are made to move. When we sit at a desk all day, we contract. I do Qigong exercises. I did an hour before I left my bedroom this morning. I do them throughout the day. And I just continue moving. Even when I'm sitting at my desk, I'm always doing something. But most of us, if we could get that simple concept, you have a choice. Expand in the face of contraction and love it all because you're alive.
Yes.
That's the thing. We have this gift called breath. And it's such a precious gift.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm just trying to process. There were so many nuggets in there, and I'm like, do I take this one or do I take this one? But so thank you. So success, I feel is no matter what life throws you, is staying focused on your truest heart's desire and having the will, the determination, discipline, dedication to take the very next action, moment, step, crawl, whatever it is, lift yourself up and take the next action. And that's where I think people that are or believe that they're unsuccessful need to reshift their energy, their thought process around. And what do you believe? Do you use gratitude exercises, Lynn?
All the time, Neil. One of the things I would say to that question, because that's such a profound thing you just said, why do some people not succeed and others do? And you said, know what you want. Most of us probably that will be watching this call have seen the movie The Matrix, the red pill, reality, the blue pill, go to sleep. The biggest question that is socialized out of children is, what do you want? When children are born, they are the epitome of limitlessness.
Yes.
In a little helpless body.
Yes.
There's another paradox. And in our weakness, we're our strongest because the parent will answer to the child.
Yes.
And so the hardest thing is to admit what we want. That was one of my most difficult challenges because I learned early on not to have wants or needs.
Because you could be disappointed.
Yes, or you won't get it if you ask for it.
Yeah.
That's just a belief that I grew up with. Because
Yes.
as a child, it was pretty clear I didn't get what I wanted. So I learned never, ever to say what I wanted.
Yes.
And to the point where I forgot, well, would you like to see this movie or that movie? I don't care. Would you like Chinese or Japanese? I don't care. That was my mantra before I started this consciousness journey. So I would say to anybody who feels like they're unsuccessful, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe that love that you had as a child to write and draw is the very gift that you've come to hone. And then we as adults, because many of us are children in an adult body, we need to honor that part that had the dream, that believed, oh, artists never make money, writers never make money. So we put it on the shelf. But I say, be bold. This is your life. And we're only unsuccessful because we declare it so.
Yes. One of my teachers, Janet Atwood, in the Passion Test, and I'm going to try to paraphrase it, but she pretty much says something to the effect of, God wouldn't give you loves and things that you want to do if you weren't supposed to be doing them.
Yes.
Yes.
That's so true. And if we can take the lid off of this contraction, and contractions come in different ways. It's like over trying, overdoing, over pleasing, shaming ourselves, giving ourselves over to, I talked about the God of others' opinions, but there's the ego, there's, having to fit in, any number of distractors, which are really the fodder with which we can expand. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, as we've studied successful people, we've all hung out with very successful people, we've all seen them, and most successful people don't give a rat's patootie about the opinion of someone else.
That's right. Because if they did, they wouldn't be successful.
Yeah. They're cognizant that that person has an opinion, and their opinion might help formulate some of their strategies, because maybe they truly are weak in a particular area, but that's it. So then they take those strategies or they throw them out completely, and they just go and get what needs to be done.
If I had listened to the people around me, I would still not be practicing martial arts.
Wow.
You could still be a chubby little girl.
I could still be a chubby little bookworm.
Yeah.
If I may share a story of someone who epitomizes the 4 Ds, I would love to. I'll just call her Wanda. So I taught karate for many, many years, and we had an open door policy for black belts. Any black belt was welcome to come in and just train with us, on the house. So we had a couple come in, and I couldn't help but notice they were faithful. They would come once or twice a week and augment their other workout. And I couldn't notice how her kicks weren't very strong. And her balance was a little bit off. And this was in my 20s and 30s, so I have a lot more wisdom now. And I keep thinking, how did this woman get a black belt? And so one day we became, friends, and as couples we go out after class and have some tea or coffee or something. And I was locking up the door, and she said, I bet you wonder why my kicks are so bad. And she caught me. I said, well, actually, I did a little bit, Wanda. And she goes, well, she pulls up her pant leg, and she says, I had polio as a child, and I was in a wheelchair till I was 17.
Wow.
And I got this crazy idea that I wanted to take martial arts lessons, but nobody would take me. And my doctor told me to get real. But my parents said, if this is your dream, follow it. So she found somebody who was a Taekwondo teacher, practiced punching and kicking as she could from her wheelchair. And I cry every time I think about it. 7 years later, Wanda got her black belt. All I know, I haven't talked to her in 30 years. She's probably still practicing. That's the 4 Ds. She didn't take anybody's other stuff. She didn't let herself be limited. So what? I can't use my legs very well. But she met her opportunity with her persistence. And literally, she got up one more time than she fell. And that's what successful people do.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful segue and a place to leave. Successful people get up one more time, then they fall down. It's beautiful. So I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, Dr. I like that the way it rolls off. Dr. Lin Morel. I love it.
Yes.
So thank you for taking the time to be with us today and share with our viewers your wisdom. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just look forward to seeing you both at some point in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.